Hello and welcome to another Mayarts video tutorial. My name is Britta and I'll be showing you today how to pair up Tattered Angels products with Mayarts ribbon to make a really cute card using some misting with the Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. I'm using Mallard, which is this beautiful teal color with a teal pigment in it. I'll be using some Glimmer Glaze, which is kind of almost like a nail polish in a way. And this one is the Island Spring color, and it's a bright blue color with blue pigment in it. And then the Jolly Old Elf Glimmer Glam, which is glitter paint. And I'll be using this for some accents. And this is kind of a pink color with some really pretty red and clear glitter in there. So I'm going to pair this up with some Mayarts ribbon. And first I'm going to start out by using one of my favorite techniques with misting, and that is masking. So I'm going to use this lace ribbon. This is the HP 30, and it's this beautiful gold ribbon. This is how I store all of my, I guess you could say, scraps of ribbon. These are lengths that are shorter than 2 yards, and I just tie them up on an old paper towel roll. And this keeps them nice and flat so that when I unroll them, there are no kinks, and I can see everything I have and label it accordingly. The best part is when this roll gets used up or something like that, I can either use it again and just cover this up with masking tape, or if it's really beat up, I can just recycle it. So I'm going to cut off lengths that are the width of my card, a little bit longer than that because I'm going to want to tape them down. And I'm just going to cut off about 5. And you can reuse this ribbon if you wish. If it almost might be better to use one of the cotton ribbons then. That'll absorb the glimmer mist a little bit more evenly, and then you'll be able to use it over and over. As long as you don't mind it getting a little bit discolored. Otherwise, you could just use it on your next product, just using the lace ribbon as is. Then next, I'm going to put down some adhesive. I'm just going to put a little dot right here in the middle. This is just a spare piece of type paper. And then I'm going to put some adhesive down the sides. Alright, so I have my ribbon stuck down to my paper, and you can see it's not really going anywhere. The adhesive is going to keep it in place while I'm misting. So it's important to kind of tack it down. Even if it's not that permanent, you want to make sure that it stays in place while you're misting. You don't want the mist to go places it's not really supposed to. I've swirled it around like this to make sure all the pigment is mixed in. And then you can just spray onto your project. And you want to make sure to spray down all the way because this will prevent clogging if you're concerned about that. So spray down all the way and spray from far away, about a foot away, and I'm kind of tilting it so that it's not perfectly straight, it's not perfectly parallel, but kind of a 45-degree angle onto my paper. And I'll just spritz until I'm happy with the results. Alright, so I've put about 10 sprays on here, and I'm just going to set this off to the side to let it dry for a second, but I'm going to peel up one little layer here so I can show you the effect. You can see this really cool, almost tie-dye effect on the paper. Here, let me lift it up so it gets a little bit closer. There you go, there you can see it. So I'm just going to let the dye soak in for a second, and then we'll work on the accents to our project while this dries. Next, I want to punch out some hearts out of cardstock, and I'm going to use these as accent pieces on my card. And I'm using this punch from Stampin' Up. It's one of my favorite punches, and it'll go along great with this pink color. So once again, I'm going to shake it up, and this one you can be a little bit more vicious with, I guess you could say, because there's no pump or anything like that. And then you can use a paintbrush. And I'm just going to grab one that I have on my desk. There's no specific requirement for the type of paintbrush you use, but I like to use one with longer bristles so that you can reach down into the liquid. And then just paint on. your Glimmer Glam. And then once you're happy with how the way everything looks, you can clean off your brush, and I just like to dip this in a little glass of water and swish it around, or just run it under the sink in water. You want to make sure that this doesn't set in there because it's kind of almost like a glue-like consistency, so you don't want to leave it in your brush for too long. And then we're also going to work on our sentiment strip while we're working on our accent pieces. I've went ahead and cut out this piece of cardstock. It's 1 inch tall and just wide, I don't know, wider than my card. And then I'm going to be using this sentiment from this Hero Art stamp set called Thank You for Being My Friend, I believe. And I'm going to use the Seriously, What Would I Do Without You? And since I'm using blues on this card, I want to make sure that my sentiment is going to be in a neutral that matches the other colors on my card. So I'm going to use this Spice Tin ink from Jenny Bolin Studios. And already my little hearts are dry to the touch. They're a little bit damp, the paper is damp, but you could definitely adhere them to your card at this point without getting it all messy. So that's awesome. And now we can remove our little misted piece from the cardstock. I'm just going to remove the ribbon first because this is still going to have wet ink on it because this is a synthetic fiber, so it's not going to absorb the mist. And then I'm just going to use a Kleenex to blot down on top of my paper. And this will absorb any of the extra ink. And there's not very much on there. I've let it dry for maybe, I don't know, 3 minutes, and it's already pretty dry. So now we can go ahead and make sure it's looking how we want it to, which this is looking really cool. It's like a tie-dye effect. If you wanted a more precise look, you'd want to go with a thicker lace, but since this is very thin thread that makes up it, you get this kind of blurry like tie-dye look, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to move this stuff off to the side. And now we're pretty much ready to assemble our card. Our piece is dried a little bit more, so it's not coming off on my hands or anything like that. This stuff dries relatively quickly, so you don't need to wait too long. And I'm pretty impatient, so that's good for me. And I have a card base of just white cardstock here, and this will really help our background shine. And then I think what I want to do is make a little banner. So what I'm going to do is just draw down the center here. I just draw a line in pencil, and then this is where I want the little tip of the banner to go. So then I'll just use my square punch and put it in here. Line it up, and then punch, and then you have a perfect one every time. And if it's a little tiny bit off, or if you want the angle to be a little bit wider, you can go ahead and go back in with the scissors if you feel like it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just run my ink pad over the edges just to really tie in the whole like inking effect of the card. Then I'm just going to go ahead and adhere my little banner down. And I'm going to use my Glimmer Glaze. First I'm going to shake it up. And then the really cool thing about this one is that it comes with a brush inside the bottle. It's almost like a nail polish applicator. And I'm going to use it to just draw 2 stripes down the side right here. And then I know I'm going to be using some of Mayart's 1/8 inch silk ribbon in white. So I'm actually going to put down another scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to color this myself using the Glimmer Glaze. And this brush is just wide enough to cover pretty much the entire strip. So you just add a little bit on and then go down the strip. And then I'm just going to make this long enough so that it'll cover the front of my card in length. And then when you have that done, you can just kind of move it so that it doesn't stick to the paper. I actually don't think it would actually stick to the paper if you left it there, but it's always good to move it to get some of the excess ink off, and this will help it dry faster. And then we'll just set that aside so that it has a couple seconds to dry. It won't take very long. And then we can continue working on our card. So I'm going to trim off the excess here. And then I can kind of look and see where I want to add my hearts. And I'm going to add these with some foam adhesive right about here, because I know I want my bow to go here and tie right about here. And while I'm thinking about it, I think I want to add a little bit more of the Glimmer Glam onto these hearts. So I'm going to go back in with a little bit smaller of a paintbrush and really add a lot of the glitter on here. This way the glitter really shows up, and I don't have to worry about handling the card anymore for now, because it's the hearts are already adhered to the card. So this gives me an excuse to really add on a lot of glitter. And I just love it like that. And it should dry completely normally. It won't be too warped or anything like that. Alright, so now that we have our extra little embellishments added on to the hearts, I'm just going to cut off my ribbon. I've only had this drying for a few minutes, so it really doesn't take that long at all. And then, just plain and simple, I think I'm just going to glue it across the card, except I'm going to save a little bit of ribbon. So I'm going to trim this off pretty close, and then I'm going to do something that I know Jennifer McGuire calls the cheater method when it comes to ribbon, and this just makes it so much easier on yourself, so you should give it a try sometime. First, I'm going to use a little bit of washi tape to hold the ribbon down on the other side of the card. And this matches what I'm doing pretty well, so I'll probably just leave it like this because it's a little bit extra handmade touch. And I'll just look where I want the ribbon to go, kind of hold it down on the sides, and then flip it over. And because we put the Glimmer Glam on this ribbon, it kind of holds the fold when you flip it over too. Now I'm just going to make sure there's none of the white showing, and then I'm going to put down a glue dot where I want my bow to go. So I want the center to be right about here. And then I'm going to just simply make a loop with my ribbon. Then I'm going to stick that loop onto my glue dot, stick another glue dot in there. You could use glossy accents for this, but I'm feeling impatient today. And then we have the beginnings of a little bow. Now, okay, you're looking at it wondering, okay, what about that icky glue dot spot in the middle? Well, I have a solution for that. You just take a little piece of twine, and I'm going to use this natural twine from May Arts. I'm going to cut a little piece. I'm going to thread it through a needle. Make sure that you use one with a really big eye, because otherwise you'll never get this twine through. And then I'm going to use my paper piercer to make a hole on either side of our little fake bow. Then you just go in through the front and out through the inside. Undo the thread from the needle, and then do a little quick knot right in the center. fluff up the bow a little bit. And then you have a nice little faux bow. And you could add a little button on this. You could do this with lots of bigger ribbon too. This is very thin ribbon, so I didn't want to do a bow that was too large. But you can see that little accent really balances out the card, since we have the stripes over here, the bow here, and then the hearts here. And I think it all really works really well. So I hope you enjoyed seeing all these Tattered Angels products used with Mayarts ribbon. I think they're a really fun combination, and I hope you get out your supplies and try the combo today too, because it's a lot of fun. So here's a picture of the finished card. Here's a close-up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time on another Mayarts video tutorial.